From Recorded Future News and PRX, this is Click Here. Karen Moronsky-Chapman never saw her job as political. She just wanted to make the government work a little better.
I joined USDS to help people, to help the American people to deliver better services.
She's a data scientist. And for the last couple of years, Karen's been quietly working deep inside the federal government at a little-known agency called the United States Digital Service, or USDS. This is her first media interview.
A lot of what I was doing was trying to bridge the different data silos across government and really just help agencies be more efficient and effective by using data to inform decisions.
You can think of the USDS as a kind of help desk, though that would be underselling it. It's more like Help Desk meets SEAL Team 6, a kind of special ops team for broken websites. When federal systems start to fall apart, it's the USDS that gets the call. Like in the spring of 2024, when the Department of Education rolled out its new FAFSA application. That's the form college students use to apply for federal financial aid. And last spring, it broke in a spectacular way.
The Department of Education just found a calculation error on hundreds of thousands of student aid applications.
Forms failed to upload, pages led nowhere, students born in the year 2000 walked out completely. It was chaos.
The FAFSA fiasco was pretty on par with healthcare.gov. like it was pretty close to being a healthcare.gov situation.
Healthcare.gov, that was the catastrophic rollout of the Affordable Care Act, what we call Obamacare these days. The website to sign up crashed just 2 hours after launch. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say it became a national embarrassment, so disastrous it prompted the government to create the USDS, to be a rescue team for things like this. So when FAFSA fell apart in 2024, it was Karen and her team who stepped in. They stabilized the site, unlocked access, and got students the aid they needed. They've done this kind of work for the CDC, Social Security, education. It's high stakes, high pressure, but Karen loved it.
It's really easy to get addicted to this work because it's so meaningful. There's very few roles that you can be positively impacting the lives of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people.
And for a while it felt, safe, totally immune from the churn of politics.
Yeah, technology is not political. Technology should be nonpartisan. It doesn't matter who's president. I'm here to serve the people, but I was wrong. DOGE has proved that technology and its use can be highly partisan.
I'm Dina Temple-Reston, and this is Click Here, a podcast about all things cyber and intelligence. We tell true stories about the people making and breaking our digital world. And today, DOGE and the USDS. The Department of Government Efficiency is charged with rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse. But when it made its way to the U.S. Digital Services Department, it appeared to be taking an agency built to protect the government's digital systems and started doing just the opposite.
A good analogy is it's like Jenga. And at some point, DOGE is pulling out pieces and something's going to topple, and we may not be able to put it back.
Stay with us. Support for Click Here comes from Clean My Mac. A cluttered desktop isn't just an eyesore. It wastes mental energy, slows down your Mac, hampers focus. Since 2008, Clean My Mac has helped users optimize their devices, and the latest version focuses on comprehensive care, not just cleaning. With Clean My Mac, you'll boost both your Mac's performance and your productivity by easily identifying and removing large unnecessary files, including cache files. Clean My Mac finds outdated files that can be safely removed, so there's no need to worry about losing important documents or photos. Decluttering isn't just about speed, it's about creating an environment that helps you work smarter, not harder. Your Mac will continue to run clutter-free with the Smart Care feature, ensuring your Mac stays in top shape. With just one click, you can effortlessly clean up RAM, manage processes, and even check for malware. Deep clean your Mac, scan for potential threats, and boost performance all with one click. Experience Clean My Mac for yourself. Try it free for 7 days and use promo code CLICK, as in click here, to save an additional 20% on your purchase at cleanmymac.com. Click Here is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary on how you buy. From Recorded Future News, this is Click Here. When President Trump signed that executive order creating DOGE, it made huge headlines. But tucked inside the order was something almost no one noticed. It turned the USDS into DOGE.
I expected there to be a DOGE. I expected DOGE to want to work with us. I did not expect DOGE to co-opt us.
The truth is, when Karen Moronsky Chapman first heard whispers about a new Department of Government Efficiency, she didn't recoil. She actually leaned in, because she'd seen the problems up close. The broken workflows, the patchwork of systems. Efficiency? It sounded refreshing, even necessary. The day after the inauguration, Karen and her colleagues were summoned, one by one pulled into a room where a DOGE administrator sat waiting. And then came the questions.
What makes you exceptional? What are you the best in the world at? What's something exceptional you've done here? Who are the exceptional people at USDS? And then the very last question was, what do you think of DOGE? I said something about I can get behind efficiency. And then I was like, based on my experience in government, here are 3 areas you could focus on.
After that, though, there was silence. No follow-up, no directives, no strategic planning. The only word they got about DOGE's plans for the government's digital infrastructure, they got the way the rest of us did, through all those headlines.
DOGE's newest target, diversity, equity, and inclusion at the Department of Education.
DOGE is expected to make job cuts at the Department of Homeland Security.
And a federal appeals court cleared the way for DOGE to continue shutting down USAID.
But I don't want to see this kind of death by 1,000 cuts that we're witnessing now.
Karen understood what was at stake. Not in some abstract academic sense, but in a direct, real-world way. If the news reports were accurate, and she had no reason to think they weren't, DOGE wasn't just challenging policy. It was bypassing the protocols designed to protect the personal data of American citizens. And that, to Karen, was the real danger.
There are very complex agreements to be able to share data across government agencies.
There's a reason why what the IRS knows about you is siloed off from what Social Security knows. Privacy. That data is so sensitive, it's shared very, very sparingly.
We were only given access to things we needed to do our job. We didn't just get willy-nilly access to systems. And as a citizen, I feel good about that. You shouldn't have access to data that you don't have a justifiable reason to have access to it.
For a long time, actually, fewer than 50 people had full access to Social Security data. That is, until DOGE came to Washington. A court found that not only had DOGE's young staffers been given that access, some were given that access before their background checks were even completed. And it wasn't just access to view the data. It was also, in some cases, access to change it.
I remember when I heard that they had write access to Treasury, I was like, oh my gosh, you can break things.
And not small things. trillions of dollars worth of things like Social Security and tax refunds.
The majority of folks I see having been hired into DOGE are very junior. These systems are not going to be anything like anything that they have seen before.
Take the Social Security system. It was built in the 60s and 70s, and it runs on COBOL, a programming language that is 2 or even 3 times older than some of the DOGE staffers.
They clearly don't understand COBOL when they were like, oh, there's 150-year-olds at Social Security.
Elon Musk talked about that during an interview on Fox.
Cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't. Okay.
And Musk said it was proof of fraud. Except Karen says it actually wasn't.
And it's like, no, that's the default date for COBOL. Like if the field is missing, just the default date, that's why there's all these 150-year-olds.
These 150-year-olds weren't getting checks. They just didn't have a birth date in the system. And Karen said she would have told the DOGE people as much if they'd only asked. But they never did. They just assumed they knew better.
They have been given the keys to the kingdom without really understanding what they have keys to.
We reached out to the White House and DOGE to comment about this, and they didn't get back to us.
You really need people who have been doing this for a while. They know how to fix things. They know how things can work more efficiently. But our leadership was getting shut out.
Some of these systems are held together with the computer equivalent of duct tape and baling wire, and every update over the years added to this complexity. And if you weren't familiar with it, you couldn't possibly know what might happen if something got tweaked. Small changes can have huge ripple effects.
DOGE is pulling out pieces, and we're like, okay, it's in the fall over. Things are fine. But there's no way you can play Jenga where it doesn't eventually crumble. And at some point, they're going to pull out a piece, and something's going to topple, and we may not be able to put it back.
Just weeks after DOGE took over USDS, Karen received one of those fork-in-the-road emails. It was a buyout offer.
The fork in the road had a FAQ that was like, we want you to leave your low productivity public sector jobs to go to high productivity private sector jobs. That is so insulting. I work way harder in this job than I ever did in any private sector job. I was often working 80 hours, a week. I did it because the work mattered so much. And to say to these people, well, you're lazy, go do something productive, is just dehumanizing.
Karen didn't take them up on the offer. But by Valentine's Day, a lot of others weren't given a choice.
Around 7 p.m., people started getting emails that they were fired. And we're all connected on chat. So you just hear, oh my gosh, I just got fired. It's like someone was in the office, copying and pasting these and sending them out one by one instead of all at once. And so every few minutes it would be like, oh my gosh, I was fired. Oh my gosh, I was fired. So for 2 hours, I'm sitting on my phone hitting refresh. Am I fired? Am I fired? And it just seemed like our supervisors did not even know who was being fired. They were checking in with us are you still here?
By the end of the purge, a full third of USDS staffers were given the axe. Karen survived, but only because she happened to work on FAFSA, a Trump administration priority.
They did not fire the FAFSA team, but they fired lots of other teams that support the FAFSA, including I think they fired close to 2/3 of the technology office, including the engineering team that supports FAFSA. And lo and behold, within 24 hours, the FAFSA site had an outage.
Hundreds of FAFSA users reported an outage over the last 24 hours.
The outage came after the U.S. Department of Education announced their plan to lay off 1,300 employees.
That's just one example of you can't just delete parts of a system and expect things to just continue working, especially when you don't take the time to understand that system. And they're not. We're seeing as they're pulling things out, everything just crumbling around it because they all depend on each other.
So does it feel like a hostile takeover or something?
Oh my gosh, yes. The whole thing feels like a hostile takeover. And I have been in a organization that has been sold and bought out and been kind of hostilely taken over. And this is beyond that. I mean, other hostile takeovers, they at least kind of figure out what you do before they fire you. This is like, we're going to fire, and then we're going to figure out what's left.
There is, of course, a method for gaining efficiency without breaking the systems. And that's when we come back. Stay with us. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Therapy should feel accessible, not like a luxury. With online therapy from BetterHelp, you get quality care at a price that makes sense. And it's convenient. You can join a session with a click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, you can switch therapists at any time. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/click here to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/click here.
There's a lot going on right now. Mounting economic inequality, threats to democracy, environmental disaster, the sour stench of chaos in the air. I'm Brooke Gladstone, host of WNYC's On the Media. Want to understand the reasons and the meanings of the narratives that led us here, and maybe how to head them off at the pass? That's On the Media's specialty. Take a listen wherever you get your podcasts.
ChatGPT, AI machines, satellite, engine ignition,
Click here.
and liftoff.
Looking back on it, we should have known that President Trump was going to start firing federal workers en masse. He hinted at it during an audio conversation on X with Musk in August 2024.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay, you're all gone.
But back when he originally said it, it seemed like a kind of fever dream, something one businessman might say to another. But then, just a few weeks later, Trump turned from talking about Elon Musk's past business practices to what Elon could do like that in the future, in government. And it started to formalize and morph into a kind of campaign promise.
At the suggestion of Elon Musk, I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial...
But here's the thing. What Trump was allegedly promising, the federal government had already been doing for more than 100 years. The United States has a sort of auditor-in-chief, the Comptroller General of the United States, and he runs the Government Accountability Office, or GAO, which is staffed by more than 3,000 professionals who've built guidelines for doing audits without breaking the systems they're trying to help. Lots of guidelines.
If you have trouble falling asleep, go to GAO's website, and government auditing standards is readily available.
That's Gordon Craig. He's an assistant professor of accounting now at Milgard School of Business at the University of Washington. But for more than 2 decades, he did a special kind of audit.
I joined Milgard after retiring from the U.S. Army Audit Agency, where I was a civil service internal auditor for the Department of the Army.
Gordon would be the first to tell you that government waste exists and that it should be rooted out. But he'll also tell you this. Audits are only helpful when they're done right.
What we're seeing right now going on, say, at the U.S. Digital Service, or we're seeing go on at CISA or the Treasury or all these other DOGE things we're seeing, are those performance audits?
No.
Why do you say that so emphatically?
I mean, they can call it an audit, if they want to. I can't stop them from doing that. But what standards are they following? Because they're not anything close to what I've followed for 30 years, and I'm also a certified internal auditor and certified fraud examiner. If I were releasing stuff like this, I would lose my license. It's malpractice.
Gordon says true government audits come in 3 flavors. Financial audits that check if the numbers are accurate, attestations, which basically look at whether the system is meeting standards, and finally, performance audits. Are we achieving what we say we are? And there's a process to how to do it right. In fact, there's an actual book.
The yellow book is what we call it because the Dead Trees edition, has a yellow cover and has since the 80s.
A typical performance audit takes about 10 months and lots of learning.
We suspend our judgment until we have talked to management, sometimes to line workers, and if we think there's something odd or wrong, we're going to get the perspectives of all the stakeholders that we can before coming to conclusions.
The goal isn't to simply embrace the status quo. Auditors want to challenge it, but they want to do so thoughtfully. Because as both Gordon and Karen have said, you can't just walk in and start pulling out wires, because what might look like waste at first blush might be a legacy system. And what looks like fraud might be a COBOL default value.
They're just going in effectively with a battering ram.
A federal judge called it hitting a fly with a sledgehammer.
So even though they're calling this an audit, you, as an expert in this for decades, just don't think this is an audit at all. This seems like something completely different.
It's something completely different. I'm going to go out on a limb here and maybe beyond the scope of what you brought me on is, to me, it looks like a domestic terrorist attack on the U.S. government by people who figured that they're not going to get their way through the rule of law.
While Karen Moronsky-Chapman might not use those exact same words, she says she has seen the same thing.
Their stated mission was to improve efficiency and to modernize government systems. But if you were genuinely trying to fix things, why would you fire most of the technologists in government? Like, why would you do that? And for me, if things were truly about efficiency, you would want data. You would want even better data than what we currently collect.
So why cut the people who understand the data best?
Good data leads to accountability and transparency. And I think that's why they're cutting these things, Dina. The only reason I can think of that you would fire all these technologists is you don't want people who know enough to call out what you are doing.
All of this reminded me of a recent conversation I had with General Paul Nakasone, the former director of NSA and U.S. Cyber Command. He said the real danger isn't just broken systems, it's losing the people who know how to fix them.
My concern always is losing really good talent. As a former commander, as a former director, I want the best talent. I don't want something that's going to disrupt that. I don't want something that, calls into question whether or not this is a good place to work. And so that's my concern.
Because bad press demoralizes, and confusion drives people away. And when systems fail, it won't be Musk or Trump who fixes them. It'll be people like Karen, and Karen won't be there.
What I was seeing DOGE do was dismantle government services. They're not being thoughtful about how their actions are impacting real people. And I could not, in good faith, be a part of an organization that was purposefully harming Americans, particularly some of the most vulnerable Americans.
That's why in late February, Karen and 20 of her colleagues drafted a letter of resignation. And it read,
"We will not use our skills as technologists to compromise core government systems, jeopardize Americans' sensitive data, or dismantle critical public services. We will not lend our..."
They sent in their letter on February 25th, and since then, USDS has lost more than half its workforce. So if DOGE pulls out too many pieces and the Jenga puzzle of government services does fall apart, it's not clear who'll be left to fix it. This is Click Here.
If you're looking for a daily guide to cybersecurity news and policy, sign up for the Cyber Daily from Recorded Future News. It serves up the day's most interesting and important cyber stories from our sister publication, The Record, and then aggregates all of the big cyber stories you might have missed from news outlets around the world. Just go to therecord.media and click on Cyber Daily to get all you need to know about the world of cybersecurity right in your inbox.
It's Tuesday, April 15th, and here are some of the top cyber and intelligence headlines of the past week. The cybersecurity agency known as CISA is facing massive cuts by the Trump administration. We reported in The Record late last week that some 50% of the agency's full-time employees and some 40% of its contractors could end up losing their jobs. Among other things, the Department of Homeland Security is expanding its early retirement offers. And critics now worry that the cuts are more than just cost-saving measures. The concern is that they could undermine the very systems designed to keep the country's critical networks safe from cyber attack.
Now the administration has announced that it will begin immediately screening immigrants' social media posts.
In a move that civil liberties groups have called chilling, the Trump administration says it will start screening immigrants' social media for anti-Semitic content.
As a means to deny people applying for permanent resident status or to pull student visas.
The policy, which the administration said would take effect immediately, follows a new and unprecedented agreement between the IRS and ICE. The tax agency has agreed to share immigrants' tax information with the agency that could eventually move to deport them. And in crypto news,
the Department of Justice disbands its National Crypto Enforcement Team and switches up the kinds of crypto crimes it'll prioritize.
That announcement makes clear that instead of policing the industry broadly, as the Biden administration had done, Trump's Justice Department will focus instead on crypto crimes that involve specific violations, things like fraud, terrorism, and drug trafficking. The SEC is also pulling back on crypto lawsuits and firing its crypto experts. Analysts say this marks a major pivot in how the U.S. plans to regulate crypto. President Trump and his sons have deep ties to the industry. And then, finally, a new international effort is underway to set the rules of the road for commercial spyware.
In Paris last week, 21 countries came together to sign something that is called the Pall Mall process.
The U.S. wasn't on the original list of supporters, but now it says it plans to join. The question is, what does responsible really mean when it comes to software that can and has tracked journalists, dissidents, and political rivals? The initiative was launched by the UK and France last year to try to rein in the rampant use of commercial spyware.
Today's episode was produced by Zach Hirsch, Megan Dietrich, Erica Gaida, Sean Powers, and Dina Temple-Raston. It was edited by Karen Duffin, fact-checked by Darren Ankrum, and contains original music by Ben Livingston with some other music from Blue Dot Sessions. Our staff writer is Lucas Riley, and our illustrator is Megan Goff. Martin Peralta is our sound designer and engineer. Click Here is a production of Recorded Future News and PRX. Tune in on Friday for Mic Drop, which features our favorite interview of the week. We'll have a new episode of Click Here on Tuesday. We'll see you then.
If you're looking for a daily guide to cybersecurity news and policy, sign up for the Cyber Daily from Recorded Future News. It serves up the day's most interesting and important cyber stories from our sister publication, The Record, and then aggregates all of the big cyber stories you might have missed from news outlets around the world. Just go to therecord.media and click on Cyber Daily to get all you need to know about the world of cybersecurity right in your inbox.